Mike, you're the chief executive of a values-based organisation, but you're also the leader of the Bath 15, the founding group. What's it like to carry out both those roles?
Well, apart from it being a huge privilege to have both roles, and sometimes you wonder where all the hours in the day go, I think the common ground between them is it's about the people. You know, I have the privilege here of getting up every day and working with great people. You know, the kind of people where you can have fierce conversations, but in the interests of making the right decisions, doing the right things. And I think it's interesting you asked me about the Bath Group, because my association with the Bath Group now goes back, actually, 8 years now, be 10 years that Footdown's been going in 2 years' time. And of course, my great privilege was being an early member of the group. And I remember we all probably have times in our life when our leadership is tested the most. It kind of like probably defines us. We'll all have them. And for me, mine was as a police officer, many years as a detective, but then becoming the commander of Bristol. And that was my last role for 7 years. At a very difficult time, but really understood the importance of team and values then, if you like. But halfway through that tenure, I met the guy that had founded Footdown, Andrew Mercer, and he invited me to join the Bath 15. And I remember this vividly. His first words were, we'd had a chat about a different matter, and then he said, "You need to join my group." And I kind of said, "Well, what's all that about then?" And he said, "We're a group of entrepreneurs and business leaders. We come together once a month and we talk about leadership." And at that point in time, that resonated with me, and I joined pretty instantly, really. And I think it only took a couple of meetings for me to realise not only how powerful it was being in a group of people from different sectors, different organisations, but actually I was now better informed about what I was doing because I had completely different perspectives on my role, more inspired about it during the tough times. And these were people that didn't want to judge you, but just very quickly became passionate about helping you do the best best job you could do. And thirdly, and arguably the most important one, was suddenly the relief from the isolation. Here for the first time in my professional career, I could have the kind of conversations that I couldn't have anywhere else. And they just were so authentic. And your question about values based, I think that's when it really started to fall into place for me. Now over the last 6-7 years, as we've grown Footdown, it's clear to me that the winners will be those leaders who really put people at the centre of their business, who align their individual values with the values of the organisation, create compelling purpose before profit. And I think it'll be those organisations that will get through these tough times and not only survive, but they'll thrive.
You talked there really positively about values, about people. Many people would describe the current environment as probably one of the toughest that there's ever been. It was described recently as the hardest environment post Second World War. Hard edge, performance, figures, delivery. You're talking values, people, authenticity. What is it that Footdown bring, do you think, that can add to that performance culture?
Well, I think we've had the pleasure of working with a number of leaders now over the years, and our passion has been about creating an environment. We say at times we'd like to create the best place on the planet for leaders to come together. And when they come together, they share, they challenge, they support. I once heard a speaker say, "You have to do it yourself and you can't do it alone." And I think that is so true. Those leaders that are kind of ploughing their own furrow, they're under real performance pressure, they're going to struggle. And and you'll know this from the Footdown School of Coaching. There's a very powerful model called the power of full engagement. Sometimes you need to get into recovery, not just survival from high performance. And part of that sometimes means recognizing that you don't know everything as well. Leaders that have a certain amount of vulnerability are those that will learn. You have to be learning leaders, and we have to have learning organisations. And so I think our contribution is to create that environment where leaders can come together, share their vulnerability, and if it's only just a 5% performance edge, then that's brilliant. And of course, complementing that is the insight model. If this is our performance method, set of diagnostic tools, methods, approaches, designed to accelerate the ability and capability of leaders and organisations. But I think more than that, it is a time for the brave. You know, this is a time now when it will be tough out there. It is tough out there. It will be tough for a while. But we know from the cycle of recessions that at times like this, visionary, creative, resilient, forward-thinking leaders can come to the fore. And when they lead organisations in the way that certainly a lot of our members do, they will win. But it isn't a time for the faint-hearted. It is a time for the brave. But I do believe that at the core, it is about the values of those leaders and the culture that they create in their organisation that will enable them to be successful.
So as a chief executive of Footdown, what message would you give to other chief executives as what changes would they expect to see in their organisation having worked with us for 12 months?
Become a coaching CEO.
Tell me
a coaching CEO. Most people, vast majority of people, come to work to have their personal needs met, and that's often not about money. It's about what is it that's going to get them up in the morning, passionate about going into the workplace and doing the best they possibly can. And people want to be engaged in the journey of businesses. They don't want to be always told and directed. They want to have a stake in it, a personal stake in it. And so we as leaders need to find a way to truly empower and engage them. And we're not saying that in every minute of every day we'll be involved in kind of coaching conversations. But what we do know is those organisations that have managed to strike a balance, managed to create a culture where the coaching type conversation is more prevalent than it is in other organisations, they will get even more out of their people. Their people will feel more part of it. They'll make decisions. It will be faster. And that's what I think, that's what Footdown's about. And that's why I say be a coaching CEO, because if you don't do it yourself, you will find it difficult to embed that and create that kind of environment in the organisation.
Mike, nobody can knock your enthusiasm, and Footdown sounds a really inspiring place to be. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.